I was on top of the world. After years of grinding, sleepless nights, and high-risk gambles, I had finally secured the biggest business deal of my career. A multimillion-dollar contract that would cement my company's place in the industry. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. I had already planned the evening, Lena's favorite wine, a reservation at the restaurant where we had our first date, and the surprise of a lifetime. But before I could say a word, she hit me with hers.
I'm pregnant.
For a moment, time slowed. My mind struggled to process what she had just said. Then, a surge of emotions rushed through me. Shock, joy, disbelief. This was everything I had wanted. Family, a legacy. I pulled her into my arms, laughing, barely able to contain my excitement. Lena, this is amazing. I can't believe it. She smiled, but something about it didn't feel real. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe she was just overwhelmed. But as the days passed, little things started nagging at me. At first, it was subtle. She brushed off any talk of doctor's appointments, claiming she didn't need one yet. It's too early, she'd say. Or, I feel fine, why waste the time? When I pressed, she'd deflect, changing the subject, distracting me with a kiss, a touch, anything to steer the conversation elsewhere. Then came the weird obsession with our finances. She had never cared much about money before. I handled all of it, the accounts, the investments, even the day-to-day expenses. But now, suddenly, she wanted full access. Offshore accounts, business holdings, even my emergency fund. We need to think about the future, she'd insist. For the baby. I chalked it up to nerves, to excitement, to her wanting to be prepared. But something wasn't sitting right with me. And then I found it. A discarded birth control pill strip buried in the bathroom trash. I stared at it, my pulse pounding in my ears. It was half-used, with pills still left in the pack. My brain refused to connect the dots, to process the implications. If she was pregnant, why the hell was she still taking them? After finding the birth control pills, I couldn't unsee the cracks forming in my marriage. Every glance from Lena felt calculated. Every affectionate touch laced with something insincere. My gut told me something was off. And once that seed of doubt was planted, I started noticing everything. The late-night disappearances, the secretive texts, the cash withdrawals from random ATMs, never large amounts, just enough to go unnoticed if I weren't watching closely. Who uses cash anymore? I muttered to myself one night, staring at the bank statement on my phone. That's when I knew I had to stop playing the fool. I needed proof. And proof was exactly what Detective Marcus Hale was going to find for me. Hale had the reputation of a bloodhound. Once he got on a scent, he never let go. He was ex-military, sharp-eyed, and didn't waste time sugarcoating the truth. When we met at a bar downtown, he got straight to business. "She's cheating on you," Hale said, sliding a folder across the table. "And it's not just an affair." My fingers hesitated before opening it. I already knew what I was about to see, but knowing something and seeing it with your own eyes are two different things. The first photo was of Lena, stepping out of her car. Not our car. A beat-up sedan that belonged in a scrapyard. The next picture showed her knocking on a door, the paint peeling off the wood. Then another. Lena inside, wrapped around a man like she couldn't get enough of him. Ryan Knox, a broke mechanic. A man whose idea of a luxury meal was a six-pack of cheap beer and a microwaved gas station burrito. I stared at the images, my fists clenching on instinct. My wife, who I had given everything to, was sneaking into some roach-infested dump, giving herself to a man who could barely afford to keep his lights on. "She's been seeing him for months," Hale continued. "But here's the kicker. She's also been funneling money to him. That got my attention." "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice tight. Hale pulled out another file. "Your wife's been pulling cash and transferring money to an unregistered account. Guess who owns it?" I didn't have to guess. Ryan. Lena had been siphoning money from me, my hard-earned money, and giving it to this loser. Hale leaned back, watching my reaction. "Your wife isn't just stepping out on you. She's planning something much worse." I forced myself to stay calm. "Like what?" "That's what I'm going to find out. But listen, If I were you, I'd start thinking about how to play your cards. Because whatever Lena's up to, it's not just about getting some side action. It's about setting herself up for something big. I nodded, my mind already racing. I wasn't going to lash out. I wasn't going to give Lena the satisfaction of knowing I was on to her. No, I was going to do exactly what she was doing to me. I was going to play along. And when the time was right, I'd make sure Lena and her broke lover paid for every last bit of their betrayal. I drove straight to Claire Dawson's office, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My mind kept replaying the past few weeks. Lena's fake tears, her constant obsession with my finances, the way she always changed the subject whenever I brought up her pregnancy. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning something bigger, and I needed to know exactly what she was capable of. Claire was already waiting when I arrived, sipping on her usual black coffee, her expression unreadable as she motioned for me to sit. "You look like hell," she noted. "Yeah. Well," I exhaled sharply, rubbing my temple. "Turns out my wife might be conning me out of my entire life." Claire leaned forward. "Start from the beginning." I told her everything, the birth control pills, the shady withdrawals, the affair with Ryan Knox, the way Lena was pushing harder and harder for access to my money. Claire listened in silence, her expression darkening with every word. When I finally finished, she let out a slow breath and shook her head. "This is bad," she said.
No kidding.
"No, I mean worse than you think," Claire clarified. "If she divorces you while pregnant, she can take half your wealth and hit you for child support, even if the kid isn't yours." I froze. "That can't be legal." Claire gave me a grim look. "It is. Family courts almost always side with the mother. If she can prove you believe the baby was yours, if you supported her financially during the pregnancy, if you told anyone you were expecting, you're on the hook. A judge might not even care about a paternity test." I felt like the floor had just dropped out from under me. "That's why she's been pushing so hard," I muttered. "She needs me to play along." Claire nodded. "And if she's funneling money to this Ryan guy, she might be planning something even worse. Financial fraud, stage theft. Hell, she could claim you were abusive and go for everything. You need to protect yourself, and you need to do it now." I didn't hesitate. That same afternoon, I began moving every liquid asset I could. Offshore accounts, business holdings, trusts under different names. I called my financial advisor and rerouted everything that wasn't locked down. And yet, Lena didn't ease up. Her desperation was growing. The fake tears flowed more frequently. "I just want to make sure we're secure," she'd whimper, curling up in my lap. "What if something happens to you? What if I'm left alone?" The performance was flawless. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed her. "You're right," I told her, stroking her hair. "You should have access." She lit up, trying to hide how eager she was. "Really? Of course. I'll start the paperwork tomorrow." In reality, I was one step ahead. Every account I promised to give her access to had already been emptied. She could dig as deep as she wanted. She wouldn't find a single dime. But I underestimated her. I should have known she wouldn't wait. I woke up early that morning, reaching for Lena's side of the bed. Cold. Empty. The second I saw the untouched pillow, my gut twisted. I grabbed my phone, my fingers moving faster than my thoughts.
No texts.
No missed calls. I dialed her number, straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. Heart pounding, I opened my banking app. $0. Every single account. Wiped clean. I bolted out of bed, throwing on whatever clothes I could find, my mind spiraling through possibilities. My emergency fund gone. The business account I hadn't been able to transfer in time drained. Even our joint savings, the one I barely touched, empty. I ran to her closet. Half of her clothes were missing. I checked the bathroom, her toiletries, makeup, even her toothbrush gone. Lena had vanished, and she had taken everything. I stood in the middle of our empty bedroom, my pulse pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The closet door hung open, half her clothes missing. The nightstand where she kept her jewelry was bare. I grabbed my phone and checked my banking app again, as if staring at those zeros would somehow make the money reappear. It was all gone. My emergency fund, my business account, our joint savings wiped out. Then I checked my credit cards. Maxed out. I turned the house upside down, my brain refusing to accept the reality of what had just happened. She had taken everything. Not just the money. My Rolex, my cufflinks, the watch my father had given me when I landed my first big deal. Lena hadn't just robbed me. She had gutted my life down to the bones.
I dialed Halle.
Find her, I said. Now. Hale worked fast. By the next day, he had something. You might want to sit down for this, he said over the phone. Just tell me. Your wife, he said, isn't who you think she is. I didn't breathe. She's done this before, Hale continued. Multiple times. Different names, different cities, same playbook. She targets wealthy men, fakes pregnancies, drains their accounts, and disappears. A chill crept up my spine. She's a professional, Hale added. She's not just cheating on you. She's been conning you since the day you met her. I gripped the phone so tight I thought it might snap. What else? I asked. Ryan Knox isn't just some random affair. He's her partner. I nearly laughed. I had pictured Lena sneaking around behind my back, acting on impulse, caught up in some doomed little fling. But that wasn't it at all. She and Ryan had played me together. The affair was part of the con. They took your money, Hale said. And guess what? They're not lying low. That part surprised me. She didn't run? I asked. Nope, Hale said. She and lover boy just moved into a new place. A high-rise in the city. Luxury apartment. Expensive cars. She's spending your money like she won the lottery. I clenched my jaw. Lena hadn't just left me. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had used me. My life, my success, my trust, to build a future for herself and that broke piece of trash. A low, cold rage burned through me. I should have known. The way she cried about securing our future. The way she pushed me for money. The way she always knew exactly what to say to make me doubt myself. She never loved me. She never loved anyone. She built a life off men like me, then vanished when she got what she wanted. But this time, she wasn't disappearing. And that's when Hale hit me with the final gut punch. She's not planning to stay here, he said. I found something in their apartment lease application. They only signed a short-term contract. I felt my stomach drop. She and Ryan are planning to leave the country, he said. I stayed silent, gripping the edge of my desk, my fingers digging into the wood. They're going to take your millions and start fresh somewhere else. A tropical paradise. New names, new lives. And you? Hale let out a humorless chuckle. You're just another guy in her rearview mirror. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to breathe. They thought they had won. They thought they were going to take my money and ride off into the sunset like some twisted happily ever after. Not a chance in hell. I wasn't going to confront her. That was what she expected. She was probably sitting in that high-rise apartment right now, drinking expensive champagne she bought with my money, waiting for the inevitable explosion. She had played this game before. She knew the pattern. A furious ex-husband. A dramatic confrontation. A last-minute plea for understanding. Some fake tears. A carefully crafted story about how things had just gotten out of control and that she never meant to hurt me. She probably even had a version of it ready. She thought I would come crawling, demanding answers, screaming for justice. She thought I would let emotions guide me. That was her biggest mistake. Because I wasn't coming for her with anger. I was coming for her with cold, calculated destruction. Step 1 was giving her exactly what she wanted. I had spent the last decade mastering the art of making money. I built companies. I closed deals. I knew how to move assets, hide wealth, manipulate numbers so well that even the IRS would need a decade to unravel it. And I was about to use all that knowledge to build a perfect trap. I created a fake offshore account under a shell company that didn't exist. On paper, it belonged to a wealthy but careless businessman, a man desperate to move millions in secret. Someone stupid enough to need help laundering money. Then I made sure Lena found out about it. I let the information slip in exactly the right places, through whispers, anonymous emails, and encrypted messages sent to people I knew she would come across. A single, perfectly crafted rumor. There's a fortune sitting offshore. A hidden payday. And all someone has to do is move it. It was the kind of job that required a professional thief. Someone with experience funneling money through hidden accounts, covering their tracks, making everything look clean. Someone exactly like Lena. She took the bait. She always took the bait. Within days, she started making small moves. Checking bank regulations. Asking questions about certain anonymous transactions. She thought she was being clever, but I knew exactly what she was doing. And then, finally, she did it. She made the transfer. She moved the money into an account under her name, just like I knew she would. And in that moment, Lena wasn't just a gold-digging con artist anymore. She was a criminal, linked to an international fraud scheme with her fingerprints all over it. And the best part? The money she stole didn't even exist. But I wasn't done. Because while I was setting Lena up, I found something even better. Ryan Knox, the broke mechanic she threw me away for, was stealing from her. It was almost too good to be true. Lena had spent months bleeding me dry, treating Ryan like her ride or die, her loyal partner, her one true love. And behind her back, Ryan had been siphoning money out of their stolen accounts, moving it into a private fund under his own name. He wasn't planning to share their new fortune. He was taking it for himself. It was poetic. Lena had spent years ruining men. She had played me like a fool. She had built an entire life around manipulation, deceit, and betrayal. And now, she was the one being played. So I did what any reasonable man would do. I sent her the proof. No words, no warning, just a single email. A spreadsheet detailing every transaction Ryan had made behind her back. Let her stare at those numbers. Let her wonder. Let her panic as she realized her beloved loser was screwing her over the same way she had screwed me. Lena and Ryan thought they had pulled off the perfect heist. They thought they had won. They thought they were going to disappear together, living a life of luxury off the fortune they stole from me. But now they were turning on each other. Ryan wasn't stupid. He might have been a broke, bottom-feeding nobody when Lena found him, but he wasn't blind. He knew exactly what she was. He had watched her work, how she manipulated, how she lied, how she squeezed every last drop out of a man before leaving him a hollowed-out shell. And he knew that eventually, she was going to do the same to him. Lena never stuck around once the money was gone. That was her pattern. And now, after I had cut off every resource she had, after I had pitted them against each other, there was only one move left on the board. She was going to run. So Ryan beat her to it. One night, while Lena slept, Ryan Knox made his final move. He emptied their last shared account, draining every last cent they had left. He took their emergency stash, the cash she had hidden in the apartment, even the jewelry she hadn't pawned yet. And by the time she woke up the next morning, he was gone. No note.
No explanation.
Just a cleaned-out bank account and a silent phone. She must have panicked, scrambling to make sense of what had just happened. Maybe she thought it was a mistake at first. Maybe she thought he would come back. But then she tried to withdraw money, and found out that she had nothing. Not just because of Ryan, but because of me. While she had been playing her little game, I had been one step ahead, tracking every account, every hidden stash, every loophole she could have used. And before she could try to salvage what little she had left, I froze everything. Her bank accounts? Empty. Her credit cards? Declined. Her offshore funds? Gone. Lena, the woman who had spent her entire life conning rich men, the woman who had stolen millions from me, was finally broke, trapped, desperate. And now, she only had one option left. She had to run. She moved fast. She always did. She didn't bother packing. She didn't reach out to friends. She knew better. The only way to escape was to disappear completely, to wipe out her past and become someone new. And for a moment I almost admired it. Lena was a survivor. She had spent years perfecting this routine, taking, vanishing, starting over. But she made one fatal mistake. She underestimated me. Lena had one last trick up her sleeve. A fake passport. A new name. A single chance to get on a plane and slip out of the country before anyone caught up to her. She must have felt a rush of relief as she arrived at the airport. She must have thought she had pulled it off again. But the second she reached security, she knew something was wrong. The customs officer paused, checked her documents, then looked up, and suddenly, 2 federal agents stepped forward. They didn't even give her time to process what was happening before the handcuffs snapped around her wrists. The game was over. She had lost. But as they led her away, she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't even try to run. Instead, she smirked. And then she looked straight at me, because of course I was there. I made sure of it. "Oh, Ethan," she whispered, voice laced with amusement. Then she leaned in, her lips barely moving. "You really think this is over?" I should have felt victorious. I had won. Lena was in handcuffs, facing a prison sentence that would strip her of everything she had ever stolen. Ryan was broke and on the run, having burned every bridge he had left. My money was restored. My business was thriving. I had taken everything back. But as I watched Lena being led away, her smirk still etched across her face. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. What the hell did she mean? What wasn't over? That question haunted me for days. And then, just as the unease was settling into my bones, Hale called. "I found something," he said. His voice was sharp, serious. "Something you need to know." I sat up in my chair, my stomach twisting. "Go on." He took a breath. "Lena was pregnant once." I exhaled slowly, my fists clenching. "I know. Or at least I thought I did." "You did," Hale said. "But not with your child." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I went completely still. "What? The pregnancy? The one she used to try and scam you out of millions?" Hale continued. "It was real, but it wasn't yours. It was Ryan's." I gritted my teeth. "You're telling me?" "She had a miscarriage months ago," Hale confirmed. "Before she even told you she was pregnant. But instead of grieving, instead of telling anyone, she saw an opportunity. She kept the lie going, used it as a tool to squeeze you for money, to bankroll her future with Ryan. The ultimate con. It wasn't just a scheme. It was her masterpiece. And if I hadn't caught her in time, if she had pulled this off, I would have spent the next 18 years paying child support for a child that never existed. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I had spent months trying to figure out just how deep her betrayal went, and this was the final dagger. She had never loved me. She had never loved anyone. She saw men as paydays. And if things had gone according to her plan, she would be sitting on a beach right now, drinking champagne, laughing about how she had pulled off the perfect heist. But instead, Ryan had nothing. Lena was facing years in prison for fraud, financial crimes, and identity theft. And me? My accounts were full again. My company was stronger than ever. I had outplayed her. I had ended her game. That night, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat in my penthouse, watching the news as Lena's trial made headlines. Her mugshot flashed across the screen. The media loved the story. A femme fatale. A scandalous con artist who had manipulated, lied, and stolen her way into fortune. Now she was the one trapped. I took a slow sip, savoring the moment, letting it all sink in. Lena had tried to ruin me, but in the end, she was the one who lost everything. I leaned back in my chair, watching as they played her final courtroom footage, the reporters dissecting her every move. And then, finally, I let myself smirk. Game over. Thank you for watching the video and listening to the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more gripping stories. Write in the comments what you would have done in his place.